Proud to present Professor Lauri Valsta.
Dear attendants, the scope of my presentation are the different, also conflicting goals and effects that forests and wood use, especially in construction, have on climate change mitigation. So, what is this conflict that I refer to? This picture shows the simplified version of the carbon cycle between forests and the atmosphere. Photosynthesis removes carbon from the atmosphere and stores it in forests. Wood harvests extract carbon from the forests and it returns to the atmosphere. However, to understand the processes better, we need some refinements. Forest management changes the characteristics of forests and the rate of photosynthesis is also affected. Biomass accumulation depends on the stock of the forests, and as time advances, generally the accumulation rate decreases. Forest characteristics also affect the albedo, the reflectance of the forest, so that in a young forest with low biomass, the albedo is higher. The shorter the forest rotation, the larger is the share of forestland area in this low biomass state. The forest characteristics also affect the formation of volatile organic compounds, which both warm and cool the climate. Harvests also create carbon storages in wood products and later landfills. Use of wood materials often results in avoided emissions because the alternative material would cause more greenhouse gas emissions than wood. So who would care about these climatic effects? Should the wood products industry care? Certainly this is a sustainability issue that affects the industry. It also is a marketing issue and a corporate social responsibility issue. And we already see that, for example, the public companies in forest industry attain to the global reporting initiative to large extent nowadays, and the social responsibility issue is part of this global reporting initiative. Will the consumers then care? We can say that increasingly but not uniformly. There is a good review paper by Cayenne Aguilar that highlight the consumer reactions to sustainability issues. There is a useful metric that summarizes the climatic benefits of using wood, for example in house construction. The metric starts with the idea that when we use wood, we don't use an alternative material that would meet the same need. Then the greenhouse gas emissions connected to the alternative material are avoided. We call this metric the displacement factor. It shows the amount of avoided emission in relation to the amount of carbon used for wood products. The higher the factor, the larger the emissions reductions due to wood use. I think the wood products industry should analyze their products from this perspective and for the purpose of wood product development. Next, we want to have a comprehensive view of the different components of climatic effects of wood use. We use a managed boreal forest as an example. The climatic impacts can be summarized by the concept of radiative forcing, which shows us how much an activity cools or warms the climate. In the y-axis of this slide, we have this measure given in watts per square meter of land area. Our base level is an unharvested forest, so we show the result of utilizing trees for industrial purposes. We then introduce the factors one by one. First, the harvest of the forest releases carbon into the atmosphere. Then the regrowth of the forest takes the carbon back, but I have here shown the value of the regrowth as less than the original amount released. This is due to the fact that during the time that carbon is in the atmosphere, it warms the climate, and the value from the climatic policy point of view of this carbon is less than the original released carbon. Then we have the avoided emissions due to wood use for materials and energy, and they can be estimated about this magnitude compared to the original emission of carbon. Then the albedo effect, which has a cooling effect because we have harvested the forest and created some open areas. And then the aerosols and volatile organic compounds. The effect of whose is very uncertain at the moment, so we don't actually know whether this is positive or negative. But when we add up all these effects, we see that we come to a slightly negative or neutral case. So use of wood as material in building has several impacts of the climate. Scientific analysis accounts for the effect of removing carbon from the forests, so we don't assume climate neutrality automatically, but as we saw in the previous slide, it appears that the effect still comes to neutrality. Highly important are the avoided emissions due to material and energy use. The total impact appears to be beneficial of wood use, or at least neutral, but more research is needed to gain a more comprehensive view and show areas of improvement both in forest management and wood products development. Thank you for your interest.